And one thing I really like about the Toastmasters way is that the feedback is pointed. We're not just going to say, oh, you did a great job. We're going to share with you exactly what you did that made your speech great.
You don't evaluate because you want to criticize the speaker. You want to give the speaker room to go and give them useful tips to grow.
And that skill set can also come into the workplace. You're more effective as a leader if you give pointed feedbacks. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Inclusive Workplaces with Amara. I'm your host, Dr. Amara, and on this podcast, I share strategies and tips on how to build and lead inclusive teams. And today we have a great show designed for you all. Today we're going to be talking about becoming a Toastmaster can change your life. And to help us understand what it means to be a Toastmaster and what it entails, I have a special guest today with us. And let me introduce him. So we have today Kiemthin Tjong Tjin Joe, who is a fellow Toastmaster. Welcome, Kiemthin.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Kiemthin is a fellow Toastmaster. I'm also a Toastmaster, and we have that in common. And I'm going to be just quickly sharing a bio of his, because chances are you probably don't know who he is. So Kiemthin is a senior investment manager with over 26 years in the industry. He's also the president of Rotterdam Toastmasters, my club, and also a member of the Toastmasters in Rotterdam. He's also a distinguished Toastmaster. So in Toastmasters speak, that is actually a really big deal. He's won several speech contests, and he's a great resource as well. So I'm really delighted to have you on the show today to talk about Toastmasters and public speaking, because that's what it is, right? Yeah.
Yes, it is. Yes, thank you.
Yeah, so both of us will be sharing our experiences with Toastmasters and how Toastmasters can actually change your life, because we know that public speaking is something that people are really scared of. But then when we key into public speaking, it's really a fantastic skill set that can change your life, quite literally, because it changed mine, right?
I hope it changed for the good, did it?
Yes, of course. I can't wait to share all about that. So today we're going to be looking at Toastmasters and how it can change your life. And I think a great way to start the conversation is to share our origin story, right? How did we find Toastmasters, the club? How did we connect with this organization in our various locations? And I'm going to ask you, Kiemthin, to maybe start off. I have my story, but I'd like you to start off and tell us your story. How did you find Toastmasters, and what's your origin story for Toastmasters?
Yes, it was a bit longer than 10 years ago when my boss told me you have to become better in presenting. And I thought, okay, how can I learn that? So I Googled and I came up with the Speakers Academy, and I thought, oh, that's good, but Speakers Academy is some institution which lets speakers, paid speakers. So that was not for me, but I also saw Toastmasters. And I remember that my sister was a member of Toastmasters time ago. And also my father was so very enthusiastic about her becoming a Toastmaster. And I thought, okay, maybe I have to become a member of Toastmasters myself. Okay. So I went to the Sprekersavond Club, the Dutch-speaking club, and I liked the meeting because it was, in one way, it was quite challenging because the speakers were so proficient. On the other hand, the people also very warm and encouraging. So that is why I stayed. And at this moment, let's say, I think it's fun. So if I would summarize my journey, I would say it's from fear to fun in public speaking.
Yeah, that's interesting that you say that, Kiemthin, because people rarely equate public speaking with it being fun, except if you're a professional public speaker, right? So yeah, that's amazing that you were able to join Toastmasters, and through the years, you've really come to enjoy it and find it really fun. For me, my Toastmasters journey started in Japan. I was teaching in Japan, and while I started giving some talks around culture and diversity, I thought to myself, I really want to become a motivational speaker. And so when I moved back to California, to San Francisco, California, I just by happenstance, I sat next to a lady with whom we started having a conversation. And I told her that, I really want to be a motivational speaker. And then she told me, well, have you heard of Toastmasters? And I thought, Toaster? What do you mean? What's that? And she said, you have to join this club. And the rest is history. I joined Golden Gate Toastmasters, and that was 20 years ago. And that was kind of how I started my journey as a Toastmaster. And that really impacted me in terms of my work, in terms of the experiences that I've had over the years. And I'm very happy to explain and share as this podcast unfolds. Yeah, so I'm sure a lot of people are wondering, okay, you've been talking about Toastmasters. I've heard Toastmasters maybe 100 times already. What exactly is it, right? So maybe Kiemthin, could you share? You are a distinguished Toastmaster and also the president of Rotterdam Toastmasters. Can you tell us a little bit about what is Toastmasters for those people out there who may be wondering, like, what is Toastmasters?
Maybe it's good to start with the name. So what is Toastmaster? It's when you're having a dinner and we are waiting for the next course, and then you decide to give a toast. And when you give a toast, you also give a short speech. And so mastering this skill is how we came to the word Toastmasters. What Toastmaster is, it's a communication and leadership institution, a training institute. And when we say communication, it's foremost public speaking. So it means that you will get on the stage and just present something in front of an audience. And when you do it a lot of times, you become proficient. Because referring back to what you said earlier, Amara, it's a lot of people don't equate public speaking with fun, but it's just like any other skill you can learn. So when you don't know how to play, let's say volleyball, you also think, oh, that's a lot of work. But when you do it a lot of time, you become good at it, and then it becomes fun. So public speaking is something you can really learn. And also about leadership, when you organize things, which you do in the Toastmasters Club, like organizing a meeting. Probably you've seen all those seminars, those big seminars where a lot of people are and different speakers, different panels. And the moment you organize that is called a leadership role. And that is also what we teach you at Toastmasters.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can actually jump right in and share with the audience what a regular meeting looks like. So you already talked about speeches, you talked about organization, and I think it's important to know that in every Toastmaster club, that all members of the club are potential volunteers for these leadership roles. And we're going to maybe we can actually dive in and share a bit about what to expect when you go into a Toastmasters meeting. What can any one person expect?
Yes, I think it's good also to mention that Toastmasters is a worldwide organization. We have 15,000 clubs worldwide. So Amara means that we will speak about how a club meeting looks like. Well, a club meeting is that we have prepared speeches. So you will have, in our club, we have 4 prepared speeches of maximum 7 minutes. So it doesn't take too long, but you will get on the stage and speak. And after the speeches have been done, we will have people who will evaluate the speeches. So we will say, okay, you are very good in mastering your voice. You also use your body language in a good way, and your structure was good. However, I also have some tips how to improve. And so we have tops and tips. And that is what the evaluation speakers operate. And the good thing about Toastmaster is that you will get ways to improve. They will tell you that, but it's in a safe environment. Whilst at work, maybe you don't feel that comfortable by getting some tips because you may feel a bit, it's kind of critic. But in Toastmaster, we have a safe environment in which we can give you tips for improvement. So that is the prepared speech part. And then we also have the improvisation part. Then we ask people just to come up to the stage, and then we ask them just an unprepared question. Then you have to answer it. And the question can be anything from what do you think about the current social developments in your country, or what do you want to be, a cat or a dog? And you have to explain that. So that is, in a nutshell, how a meeting looks like.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Kiemthin, for sharing that. One thing I really like about Toastmasters is exactly what you said about being run in a very safe and supportive environment. You know, making mistakes in public is not exactly exciting for most people, including me. When you make mistakes in public, it's like, why did I do that? But the thing about a Toastmasters meeting is that people are very open, people are very kind and supportive. And even when you make mistakes or you don't follow the plan as dictated in the speech outline, it's still okay because there's this sense of constant development and improvement. And so it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to maybe not deliver the speech as you planned, because there's always an opportunity to get better. There's always an opportunity to improve. And also the feedback from the members as well as the evaluator for that particular speech can also be very helpful in improving one's ability to deliver those speeches. Yeah. So I really like that you mentioned that.
And I also like that you mentioned that it's okay to make mistakes. And one additional point which you learn in Toastmasters, you become aware of yourself and your audience and what happens. Because a typical mistake which people make is that they forget a part of the text. So they say, okay, I want to speak about my education, I want to speak about my hobbies, I want to speak about my challenges. But then they are a bit tense, and then they only speak about their hobbies and the challenges, and they said, oh, I forgot to speak about my school. But nobody knows, because nobody knows what you would have prepared for your speech. So even if you make some mistakes, I mean, nobody notices, so you will become okay with that.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And that's also something that we learn as a Toastmasters. If it happens, just keep going, don't stop. You know, you don't just start all over again, just keep going, don't stop. Nobody knows your speech. That's a good point. You mentioned also prepared speeches and table topics. I have a story around this, because when I first attended Golden Gate Toastmasters, my very first meeting, I volunteered to respond to a table topics question. And at first I was freaking out a little bit inside. I was a bit nervous because it was my first time. But then I did a good job, actually, and everyone was really like applauding me, like, wow, well done. And so, yeah, for me, I've come to really love table topics. I enjoy giving table topics and also watching others give table topics, because the questions are always so different and sometimes strange, but people find a way to walk around it and share their thoughts in 2 minutes. What about you? What are your thoughts around table topics and prepared speeches? Do you have a favorite between the two?
It depends on the mood where I'm in, because sometimes prepared speeches are very, very inspirational, but sometimes there are also speakers that already have heard them before. Table topics, on the other hand, is quite challenging. I remember that when I had the first meetings, when somebody, the table topics leader said, okay, who wants to come to the stage? And I thought of, okay, the ceiling also looks very interesting to me. What a lot of people do, but at some time I thought, okay, I have to be there, because that is how I learn and grow. And now at this point, I also give some Toastmasters workshop about how to deal with these questions. So it's also a learning process for yourself when you become a Toastmaster.
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing I also want us to share about is what are some of the benefits? Because as a Toastmaster, we're talking about public speaking, right? Toastmasters, its ethos is really about developing the public speaking skills and leadership skills of its members. And people may be wondering, okay, so if I join Toastmasters, how might that help me in my life? You know, the title of this episode is Becoming a Toastmaster Can Change Your Life. What are some potential benefits that people attending Toastmasters, what are some of the benefits that they stand to gain?
Yes, I would say, or let's say, if I just meet people who are interested in Toastmasters, I would say you become happier. But if I notice they are from my industry, the financial industry, I will tell them you will become rich.
Oh, really?
So those are
Tell me more.
Okay, so the idea is that, to my personal opinion, is that at some point you will have to use public speaking to advance in your career. And when you advance in your career, of course, you will be rewarded by a higher salary. But apart from those money matters, when you join Toastmaster, what is observable is that you will become better in public speaking. And people will notice that. And from the inside, you will feel more confident. Yesterday, I spoke to a fellow Toastmaster of mine. Together, we will give a workshop about a public speaking skill in Toastmasters. And what he said is he has become more confident. And what does that mean? He said, as in business situations, business meetings, he is more confident in speaking to senior people. So mostly we are very okay speaking to peers. But when it becomes speaking to your boss or to your client, in a way, sometimes you feel they have more power than you, to use the word. And then you still should be confident in taking your space, because you have a right to be there also in business settings. So you become more confident when you have done Toastmasters, because you're used to speaking up. So you also become more assertive. That is
Yeah.
something which I don't really hear a lot of Toastmasters say, but it really helps you.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I love what you just said there about confidence. You're absolutely right. There's something about standing in front of people, first of all, even if it's just a meeting, if you're leading a meeting, or you're having to present for your team in maybe an all hands or a stand up meeting, or I mean, there's so many different types of meetings where you have to give presentations and you have to stand in front of people or speak in front of a lot of people. And so there's a lot of anxiety that can potentially come up because of that feeling of, oh, what are they going to say? The beautiful thing about Toastmasters is that every meeting you're standing in front of people and you're getting used to that. You're getting used to the gaze. You're getting used to people looking at you or not smiling or smiling at you. It doesn't matter. You're getting used to that. And that really helps build the confidence that you can stand there and say, yes, I have a right to be here. And a great thing about Toastmasters, it also teaches you presence. It teaches you how to come in, how to stand, how to position yourself, your posture, your hand gestures, your eyes, your eye contact, smiles, all of these things make for excellent presentation skills. So you're absolutely right. It builds your confidence. Another thing that we have to think about when we talk about Toastmasters is that I like the aspect of evaluations, because feedbacking is something that we do very well, because you have the evaluators will evaluate your speech, and then you have the feedback from other members in the meeting, and that's also very helpful in building your skill as a leader, because as a leader you have to ensure that it's performance management of your team, that you're able to do that and perform that well. And your ability to give effective feedback is extremely important in terms of how motivated your team will be and how effective they'll be. So this is also an area Toastmasters Club can really help fortify. Maybe you have a few more ideas, Kiemthin, around that as well.
So what we say in Toastmaster is habit becomes a second nature. So when you're used to speaking up, you will do that automatically. When you're used to evaluating people, it's more natural to you to do it. There was a research of a professor of the University of Granada, which is in Spain, and he researched around people in 26 countries. What were the top 5 of, let's say, social awkward situations? And number 3 was to evaluate people in front of an audience. But we in Toastmasters, we train that, so you become used to it, and you evaluate for a purpose. You don't evaluate because you want to criticize the speaker. You want to give the speaker room to go and give them useful tips to grow. And that's also what happens in a business setting. Sometimes when there has been a presentation of a colleague, and most people do not comment. Most people just say, okay, it was a good speech, a good presentation. And then the speaker probably says, okay, can you give me some tips? And then people say, oh, I've not paid attention to that, but let's grab a beer. And at Toastmasters, you're used to give evaluation because you know the person can grow for a good. And that is typically something which is inherent to Toastmasters. When you give evaluation, we don't just say it's okay. We give things which went well, the tops, which I referred to earlier, but also at least one tip, one way to grow. And in Toastmasters, we do not like it when somebody evaluates speaker and said all was good, because the speaker cannot grow in that way. So it's the second nature of Toastmaster also to give evaluations.
Yeah, absolutely. We get a chance to practice it all the time. And giving feedback or evaluation can be stressful for people who are not used to it. And I think when we're connected to the business world, like you rightly mentioned, being a member of Toastmasters, because you get to practice it all the time, if you, of course, volunteer, you just become better at giving feedback. And one thing I really like about the Toastmasters way is that the feedback is pointed. That means we're not just going to say, oh, you did a great job. We're going to share with you exactly what you did that made your speech great. And that skill set can also come into the workplace, because you're more effective as a leader if you give pointed feedback. So if you tell your staff member, oh, you're doing a great job, follow that with exactly what are they doing that's great. And if there's an area of improvement, share exactly what that can be, so that they're able to identify those areas of improvement and then work on it, and then have a way of following up down the line. So these are critical skills that leaders can benefit. Yeah, go ahead, continue.
Let me give you one example. What happens once in a while when you're a leader of a team? There will be some point where you think one of your team members has an area to improve. let's say it's about presentations, then maybe when your team member is a salesperson, if salesperson, you want to look confident because you're selling a good product to your prospect. And then sometimes a team lead can say, oh, you did not look confident. And then the salesperson said, so why do you think that? Oh, I don't know, but it didn't feel right. So that's not good. But at Toastmaster, we tell you, okay, why did you look confident? Because your eyes flashed around. Then you look confident, or you just moved a lot. Or you just moved a lot with your hands. So those are all signs, flashing with your eyes, moving a lot, moving your hands a lot, unpurposeful. Those are the things which make you not look confident. And that is good for your salesperson, because then he can work on it. But if you just say you don't feel confident, nobody gets better with that. So it's that's typically something which is good. Indeed, Amara, like you say, we point out specifically what the point is you can improve on, and that is what we learn at Toastmasters.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah. When we talk about Toastmasters, we're talking about building effective leaders, public speakers, and leadership skills. And I want us to talk a little bit about the leadership aspect, because there's so many different ways and so many different layers that we can all learn to become effective leaders. And not only that, our ability to influence people in general. I like what you said earlier. You talked about self-awareness. And I think as a leader, your self-awareness is extremely important. And so as a Toastmaster, especially when you're giving speeches, you're going to be very aware of yourself, aware of the way you're moving. You're always in control of the space and how you're engaging with your audience. And so self-awareness, I think, is one of the first things that we really learn as a Toastmaster. Could you share a bit more about other ways in which our leadership skills are built within a Toastmasters club?
I think maybe it's good to share about what we think leadership is, because sometimes I feel it's a bit overused. But let's say one of the typical leadership definition is that a leader is somebody who moves or speaks in such a way that others feel inspired and motivated to follow him or her in acting or speaking alike. That is typically a definition of a leader. The other leadership definition is that somebody who has the knowledge and the courage to act in the moment when needed. And to act in the moment when needed is typically something we learn at Toastmasters, because it can happen that somebody will disturb the meeting, and then you, as a leader, you have to step in to ask respect for the speaker. I remember once it happened that it was a contest, and then one of the speakers was interrupted by somebody who was cheering, and not to cheer the speaker on, but to hear herself, so to say. And then the contest master had to step in and say, okay, please, lady, be respectful of all the contestants and also the audience, so please calm down. And at that moment, you have to have the courage to step in at the moment, and not the next day, because then the moment is gone. But at that moment, the contest master was a very good leader, because he stepped in at that moment. And this is what we learn at Toastmasters as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate that happened, but I'm so happy that the contest master was equipped to be able to step in and say the right things to make sure that the contest actually, held. And in addition to the contest, or just the other different ways that leaders are built within a Toastmasters Club, I also find that the different roles that we play. So, for example, we have the Toastmaster role itself. There's actually a Toastmaster role where you're in charge of the meeting. And then, of course, you have the role as the evaluator roles. And then you have the timekeeper, the AHA counter, and who's on the grammarian. I think they're both the same. And then you also have the sergeant at arms that makes sure that we start on time, right? And so all of these roles, they're not fixed. So different people can play these roles throughout the course of the year, and being able to step into those roles can really enable one to learn how to manage. And another thing we talked about was time management. So as a Toastmaster, you're also very aware of time, because the speeches are timed, and if you go above the allotted time, then you'll be disqualified. So we're very aware of time management. It seemed like you want to say something, Kiemthin. Go ahead.
Yes, the fun thing is that a lot of people are not really time aware, even in business, because people don't want to interrupt the other person and they think they have something special to say. Well, of course, they have something special to say, but you also want to go home at 5. Sorry, we're in Netherlands, you want to go home at 5. In that sense, you see that the Toastmasters mostly are the ones who are making the meeting participants be aware of time. And they will say, okay, sorry to interrupt, but we also need to end the meeting on time, and it's also good to hear some other participants as well. So we are indeed time conscious. The good thing about Toastmasters, let's say you're the timekeeper, you have to be assertive as well, because nobody wants to be interrupted in the most important speech of their life. Especially that's what they think. When you're speaking, you think your speech is the most important thing in the world. So, you will be interrupted by the timekeeper, and that's also good to know. And one thing I can add, because you, Amara, you're speaking about the roles in the meeting, but every Toastmasters Club also has a board. So I am now the president of the Rotterdam Toastmasters Club. And I see that I am depending on my board members, because I cannot do everything on my own. So I have to motivate them and to encourage them to do their job well. And I've seen that I'm a president for the second year now. And I've seen that in my previous year, I had some team members who were having some difficulty, so they didn't perform. So I had to find a good way to motivate them. That had taught me a lot. And I have to say, this year it's quite good, because all my board members are working very hard. So I'm having quite a relaxed time. But that's also something you can learn when you become a board member of your club, and especially the president, because then you have the ultimate responsibility. The meetings and the club are going fine.
Yeah, so it's important to know that there are so many things running behind the scenes, right? There's that you go to a meeting and everything is just perfect. Everyone is seated. They have their feedback forms for table topics and the prepared speeches. You have a break in the middle. So everything just runs beautifully. But there's kind of like an engine behind making sure that everything actually goes according to plan. So you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a wonderful training for anyone that joins Toastmasters or joins the club. So you have that opportunity to play an active role in every meeting, and also the opportunity to be elected into one of the positions, the board positions as well. Is very important. So I'm really curious, and I'm sure people are curious to know about our own personal story of how Toastmasters actually impacted us. I can go first and share. When I told you, when I joined Toastmasters, I wanted to be a motivational speaker, and while I may not be a motivational speaker, quote unquote, I mean, I'm not traveling around the world giving these motivational speakers, at least not yet. Toastmasters actually gave me the skill set to become an international facilitator. So I'm able to still motivate people in a different way. I've been able to travel around the world, run leadership workshops around the world, support managers, talk to people in boardrooms. I've been able to influence senior leaders in my organization, for example. And I was able to get that courage and that methodology from having that foundational start, with Toastmasters. Toastmasters gave me the opportunity and the ability to engage with people in a way that I never knew how. And through the years, I've been able to really connect with people. I would say I've also impacted in the lives of people. And most of all, my long-time dream was to travel around the world, and I was able to do that because I got that foundation. If I didn't have that foundation, maybe I'd have had a different career altogether. And so Toastmasters, really, I have to credit Toastmasters for giving me that very first layer, the foundation that allowed me to build on and to become the international facilitator and leadership consultant that I am today. And so I owe that to Toastmasters, to my Toastmasters Club, and all the Toastmasters clubs I've been to and continue to be in through the years. So what about you, Kiemthin? What's your story?
My, just hearing you, I thought I should have gone first, because I don't have a worldwide story.
It doesn't matter.
However, I can share with you that when I was at the primary school, I was very afraid to give our annual speech, because I have to give annual speech. It's always very tense. And when I joined Toastmaster, the reason was that my boss told me to become better. I thought, okay, I have to face this challenge, which I never liked. And I thought it was, yes, like I told you, I went to the meeting and it was challenging because there was high quality of speakers, but also warm people. I stayed because I like the people, and I noticed that I developed myself. And also giving a lot of speeches, you get encouragement, you get useful tips. And now I'm at the part that I not only like, but I also teach other adults how to become better in public speaking. So as I told you, so tomorrow I will give a workshop about, we call it body language and vocal variety. So how people can use the body and their voice. And that was derived from a workshop I followed 6 years ago about executive presence. So executive presence as the elements, body language and vocal variety. And that has become big fun. I mean, it's big fun to teach people about public speaking, because if people would have told me you can teach people about finance and investments, of course I can do that. That's my job. But also teaching people in public speaking is something I would never have dreamed of more than 10 years ago. So actually it has become also fun. So that's why I said from fear to fun. That's in public speaking, but also in giving workshops about public speaking. It's great. Yes.
That's amazing. I mean, think about that. A primary school boy at the time, scared of public speaking. Your manager said, "Hey, you know what, Kiemthin, you need to improve your presentation skills." And then you go to this club and you're thinking, "Oh gosh, you're so much better than I am. How am I ever going to be like that?" To the point where right now you're actually teaching people how to be effective, an effective speaker. That's pretty impressive. And I think, to me, this is just an example of how Toastmasters can really change one's life. For me, it gave me the ability to travel around the world and to really lean into my calling as an international facilitator. And for you, it just made you a better speaker. And now you're able to run workshops, not only in conjunction with the fact that you're an investment portfolio manager, and you're able to incorporate that into the ways that you run your presentations in your job as well. So for me, depending on what you want, whether it's the presence, whether it's the way you articulate your words, whether it's your storytelling or your ability to facilitate, Toastmasters has something that you can lean into to develop yourself further. This is my takeaway from being a member of Toastmasters. Yeah, absolutely. So Kiemthin, before we wrap this up, is there something you would like people to take away from being a member of Toastmasters? If there's one thing you can share?
Public speaking is a skill you can learn. If you think it's scary, if you become better, it becomes fun. It's a skill you can learn. It's not something you have to be born with. That's what I hear a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm not good at public speaking." Well, if you never try, you will never become good at it. But if you try, you have 98% chances that you become at least good. Yes, you can do it. That's a takeaway. It's a skill you can learn.
Absolutely. I like that. Public speaking is a skill you can learn. Some people are born, charismatic, but you can learn. You can still learn it. If you feel like you're not good enough, you can join a Toastmasters Club and improve on those skills. It will shock you how great you could become as a public speaker or as an effective speaker. And just to that point, next week, actually, we're going to be having the Toastmasters Corporate Summit here in Rotterdam. And we're going to be meeting at the Social Hub. Kiemthin, do you want to tell us a little bit more about what this Toastmaster Summit is about?
Yes. So Amara and I are a member of we call it Community Toastmasters Club. So in Tuesday evening, we go there and spend our free time there. But I can understand that sometimes people are quite busy. So that is why we also have Corporate Toastmasters Club. That means that during your office time, you have your Toastmasters meeting, which is, well, for a lot of people, quite convenient, and also something which their managers like. So I think maybe it's good that firms know that you can also have a Toastmasters Club within your firm. And that is what the Corporate Summit is for, to get informed about that and to get to know more about that. So what that is about, I have to say 11th of March, I think people say, okay, that's quite tight. Indeed, well, we're just having this podcast at this moment, so that's why we mentioned it. But if people want to know more about that, the deadline to apply for that is the 6th of March. So it's tight, but it's good to know that you can still apply for that, especially if you're a firm and you think, okay, this is very good for my people to know. People have to come better at presenting, do sales pitches, etc., to be more confident, better employees. And then it's a great opportunity you can use as a company.
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm going to be speaking next week. So just to demo what it's like what it's like as well. If you're interested in learning more, or maybe you have a question, I actually put down your email address so anyone could reach out to you and follow up with you. I'm sure that anyone that's going to be joining in next week will be in for a fantastic treat, because it's such an incredible opportunity to invest in public speaking, especially in the workplace. Because a lot of times people may not have the time to, go to a meeting in the evening, like you said. And I actually was able to create a corporate Toastmasters Club back in the day in San Francisco when I worked at Barclays Global Investors. Yes. And it was really well received. So it was really helpful. And I can only imagine how that might impact staff members who are interested in this self-development. So yeah, absolutely a great idea. So let's see. Hopefully people join in and take advantage of the summit. And so we've come to the end of today's
It was very pleasant presentation. Yes. Great.
And thank you so much everyone for joining in. And if you're joining in on LinkedIn or on YouTube, please feel free to send a message or a comment. Did you like it? Was it helpful? What did you like about it? And are you a Toastmaster? Please go ahead and share in the comments. I always respond. And Kiemthin, thank you so much for sharing your wealth of knowledge. Our distinguished Toastmaster, thank you for coming on the show today. It was a pleasure having you. And so with that, I want to say goodbye to everyone. And until next time, be well. Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.